tell my friends stand by me only if I'm right. I come out in triple darkness just to see the light. If I say it once, I guarantee I say it twice. If they want me, I ain't going out without a fight. In my dreams, I'm a killer, but for God, man. Try to play it cool, but it's getting hard, man. Rolling with the real and death to all the frauds, man. Not too many of me, yeah, it's kinda hard, man. In my room, sitting in my room. Know they waiting on me and I'm coming soon. Never been a sellout, never been a coon. Y'all be on the camera acting like I'ma show them how true and independent get it. Whole game changed by the time I'm finished with it. We about to get this business handled in a minute.
Welcome to the B2M Crew podcast, where five brothers who have been friends for over 40 years chopping it up about how we raised our 12 sons. One of us has a daughter, 13 total children. How we navigated combined 100 years of marriage, and just chopping it up about some authentic conversation. It's boys to men. We've grown from boys into men together, and we're sort of sharing some of the conversations that we've been having with you here on the podcast. We're broadcasting from the Code Building in downtown Charlottesville, one of our wonderful sponsors. Great co-working space where you can have office space. Business offices are here, special event space. Great amenities, great staff here at the Code Building. Come downtown Charlottesville, and check it out. I'm the Wavo Black. I'm joined by my man JG Yates over here.
What's up, folks?
My brothers Talik and Waukee Wynn, and my brother Jay Moo over there on the other side, coming to you each and every Thursday on our YouTube channel. So make sure you do that and follow us on our social media channels. We definitely need you to hit that subscribe button to support this podcast, and as Brother James pointed out, it's free. So go check that out and subscribe. Today we're talking about a very a topic that has probably hit every family in some form or fashion over the course of our lifetimes, and even today. We're talking today about drugs and alcohol and the advice and guidance we gave and continue to give our young people. As you all know, these days, man, you got a lot of states where marijuana is legalized. Like when we were growing up, if you had told us when we were in high school, hey, 30 years from now, you're going to be able to go to 7-Eleven, a store just like 7-Eleven, and buy weed, we would not have believed it. Right? So times have changed, culture has changed. And then also we grew up in the crack era, right? Where crack became prevalent. A lot of people our age got into the crack game, end up going to jail. Some people end up becoming addicts, right? Now there's a great pill, I call it the pill era, where fentanyl and Percocets and all of these other pills that you're supposed to have after knee surgery, people are consuming and mixing it with alcohol, and that's what getting nice is today. So lot of drug issues and problems going on, and even with alcohol. So what was you all's journey with your children as it related to messaging around drug and alcohol use? John, what did you share with the fellas?
Man, where do we start? At the end of the day, man, the kids basically model what they see for the most part, right? Yeah. And so if you're at home and you drink, how do you drink? You're a social drinker, every night beer drinker, weekend party drinker. People smoke these days. Like you said, the weed is legal. No one, and people always smoke weed, right? But it used to be done with a lot more discretion. But it's nothing new. As far as the kids, man, just really want to teach them moderation. You know what I'm saying? And having an open dialogue, open door policy, so to speak. Are you curious about this? If so, come and holler at me. If not, it's all good. So you don't have to drink or smoke.
So when you say you teach them moderation, are you saying you were like, hey, you can smoke and drink, but you can't do it that much? Or did the moderation conversation come after you found out that they did?
That's correct. You're correct. Yeah.
Okay.
If you do choose, let's say, drinking, right? Because we're talking about drugs, whatever. If you choose to drink, you got to know how to drink in moderation. You know what I mean? You got to...
Is that the conversation at 18 or is that the conversation at 16?
As soon as he asked me, that's the conversation.
So just because you was drinking at 16,
What if
you
he?
think it's all right for 16-year-olds
Nah,
to stop drinking?
nah.
You just said, what if he don't ask? And he just most kids not gonna ask your permission. They just
Dad,
gonna.
I'm about to go get a drink.
They might sneak it. They might, yeah, but that's how you try to have an open dialogue where your child can come and feel free communicating to you. You know, sometimes they'll be like, "What that taste? What's that? What you drink?"
Can you recall a moment where something happened and you started having this conversation with Dre or Isaiah or Gabriel?
I know. I remember a time where I would pour a beer in a cup, you know, because I ain't want them to see me drinking.
Oh, really?
It was It wasn't that I don't know why. Maybe because it was just more than one, perhaps. You know what I'm saying?
See, if it's in the cup, they won't know it. I'd have had 10 of these.
Yeah. And so, but I remember when Dre was old, his mom was like, "You need to learn how to drink at home," right? And I'm like, but he don't seem curious, you know. And Dre the type of dude that will get the party started. He'd dance. He'd be the first on the dance floor, like natural. He on that natural high. I'm like, if that's one less bad habit you don't have, don't worry about it. But I think he feel comfortable enough comfortable enough to come to us. That's what he wanted to try. So, you know, with him, you want to drink, you know, then he, you know, had a drink at home or whatever. And I guess he saw how, you know, how it affected him. And but I don't even recall, you know, my other two, you know, being that interested. I'm not saying that they don't drink.
Did you have a moment with them when you discovered they was drinking or smoking or any of that?
It's so funny now because my 21-year-old, 22, I'm still realizing I'm trying to gauge him what he does and doesn't do, and I'll talk to him about it because he never really did it in front of me. And then when the first time we had like a man-to-man drinking beer was a big deal for him. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, you can have one. You grown. If you don't want one, you don't have to have one. But never did specifically sit down and say, "Hey, man, we're gonna talk about this right now."
Yeah, okay. What about you, J-Mo?
Well, my oldest, Michael, it was more like the cigarette piece in middle school or what have you.
In middle school?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Newport?
Of course. Now, look, of course. My bonus son, Courtney, I'd come into his life at a much older, you know, period or what have you. However, his mother, with that of weed, she's my wife's just a saint, yo. So it's just funny that if he smokes a little bit, or when he did, I don't believe he does so much now. Maybe if it's on occasion, she would think he smokes every day.
He's a crackhead.
Yeah, he a weed head. And then also now our youngest who is now, you know, he likes weed, and I struggle with the fact that the youngest does, you know what I'm saying? I think because he even drinks on occasion or whatever too, is because, well, actually none of them ever really saw. I never drank or anything. All my drinking days and whatnot was from like 13 to 20. You know what I'm saying? Drinking, smoking all 13 to 20 years old. I got in all of my debauchery.
All illegal years.
Right, yes. Oh, yeah, all the illegal years is when I was consuming it. But then when it's time for me to be legal at 21, I accepted Islam. So that was just so crazy. So I was very proud that, okay, you know, I'm raising my youngest at a time where he won't see me drink, won't smoke, won't do anything like that. So I could be that example for him not to be influenced or even, curious or desire, you know what I mean? He's just protected up through, however long. And I didn't necessarily, or I felt I didn't anyway, have to worry about him doing it and sneaking and being as clever as we were back in our day. Although my mother did catch us. Y'all remember the time when I had the beer cans in the trunk of the Pulsar?
I think I remember that.
And she found them joints, and I tried to play it off and blame it on my Uncle Doc. I'm like, yeah, he must have left those in there. She fell for it too. Crazy enough. Oh, you're right. You didn't.
Is
she
that
just
why
knew.
we hid the case underneath
She
the
just-
car the next time?
Oh my gosh, that time?
Here they
No,
case
no,
under
that
the
was a
car.
whole different story. And how foolish was that?
Yeah.
We had a case, and because of when she caught me that time with the beer can, I was like, yo, we can't keep this in the car. Let's hide these joints under the car.
Under the car.
Under the
That was
car
brilliant.
while we go in, get ready to go party, do whatever. They should be straight. Why? Who would even think to just look? I guess as they was coming over that hill at the time that my mother was living in that townhouse, coming over the hill, they must have saw the beer
They took
under
the case.
yeah,
Case was
under the
gone.
car. We come out to get our beer,
Overthinking, man.
and it's
All you
gone.
had to do was come down to Kroger where I was working. You could have got another case. Hey, look, hey, bro, we used to do. They be like, they had this process where, and forgive me if they still doing it. The baggers at Kroger still doing this, but they be like, you take the trash out, right? So to take the trash out, you used to get a shopping cart, and you put the trash in the shopping cart. So what we used to do, they be like, who gonna do the trash? I'll do the trash. I'll do the trash. We used to go put the cases of beer in the back and put the trash on top of it. And I called John or somebody like, look, yo, they back under the tree. We used to put them outside beside this tree at the trash can. And we was getting about 3 cases every weekend, man.
Oh my
It was
gosh!
crazy.
I'm sure people were wondering how is it that how is he doing all that and getting drunk and everything
Yeah.
between
How
that
they
age
affording
of
this?
No, and then when you got a certain age, I'll just go in there and try to buy it.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
And I mean, they said yes or no. And you found the spots that will allow you to get it,
Yeah, you
until
gotta
they catch on.
Then John was the cashier at this one store. We come in there with $2 and leave about 6 cases.
Hey, that was before the electric scan.
Yeah.
So it made me wonder. Okay, was there ever a time that K-Mo just got over on us and just where we thinking he all mad innocent? And I think later, as he became 18, 19, whatever, he did admit to having, I think, smoked a little weed in high school or whatever. But again, towards his, so I was proud that at least I staved off that type of influence up at least till he was considered an adult of 18, 19, and then after that,
What was your message to him?
afterwards or
At that age when
At
you
that
discovered
age?
he was partaking.
Oh, well, my wife was all on that again because she just knew he was a weed head. Smoking. Oh my gosh.
So was your conversation with her like, hey, relax, slow down. It's over.
You trying to balance
Yes,
her out.
bringing the balance.
I had done so much again between that period to 13 to 20. I was again I felt good about that. I kept it from to that
You're
point.
like,
So,
wow, he made it all the way to 19.
right. And so I wasn't quite as strict and reactive as she was, and it was kind of like a Queen, just just hey, it's he's grown. We can try to let him know as far as I guess to the moderation type piece that JG was talking about with his boys, and as opposed to just not allowing it to get to the point where that's all you're doing and you're not being productive in any other way, and you're not trying to find a way of a natural high in some way, and of course my wife's question would be why you feel you need to smoke weed all the time, or she would make it all the time
That's
again,
a non-smoker
and
question.
he wasn't right, but and again he wasn't. I don't believe he was smoking that much. As much as but she was still, it was all the time, every day, every week, whatever the case. And my attitude, so to speak, was to that, I had my time, my phase, and for me to bug out, it wouldn't be, I wouldn't necessarily say fair, but it would just seem very hypocritical to an extent. And again, just offer my advice as to look, man, with the way the climate is of police and all of that, just don't be driving high or anything, or just be very responsible. If you're gonna do it someplace to where you're
At
gonna
that
stay.
point, you got to teach them how to be a good weed smoker.
Right.
Once you find out they do it, you got to okay.
And
Joaquin,
so,
what about? Okay,
yeah,
go ahead, bro.
that was pretty much it. That conversation.
Hold on.
Go ahead.
Hey, James, man. What do you remember? We got fired up at the family reunion, right?
Oh my gosh, yes, sir.
And we had to be like say preteens. Do you
Was
remember?
y'all like 11, 12 years old?
I thought it was around
Y'all
that
got what?
13-year-old, but maybe it
we
was.
was
Fired
drinking.
Oh,
I thought
drink.
it was
Okay.
12 or
Drink,
13.
just drinking beer.
I
No,
got
you know what? I was 13 because I tried to drink the amount of beer commensurate to my age.
Oh wow.
God.
You
So
gotta
and-
drink.
So I did
James
drink.
put him down now.
I drank
As
13,
well as
but the
you.
thing is,
Hit 'em
Drink
down.
13 beers, bro.
yes, sir.
At
He always
13
had
But
his
the
years
thing
favorite
is-
pair of jeans he wore
The
when we went
thing
out.
is I couldn't. I wasn't one that could hold because I'd get full. So
The
quick.
Duke of Earl, we used to call him. We
Exactly.
used to call him the Duke of
would,
Earl.
I would get mad full, and then I end up having to go. Then I come back to drinking.
Hey, yeah,
It was
he
just-
he
with-
threw
the
up
party
and that made
don't
more
stop.
room. Let me
Yeah.
Right, right.
Hey, bro,
Wow.
do you recall? I'm trying to figure out. Did anybody pull us aside and like, look, yo, listen, we was sneaking. Nobody was serving us or whatever. We was just running around
Right.
sneaking while the adults having a good
Just at
time.
the cookout, yes.
Oh, I can't recall nobody like, yo, don't you do that? You know what I'm saying? Like getting on. I recall them laughing at us. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like,
Oh yeah, Dad
Yeah.
finding me all just shitty drunk, and so he just it was entertaining to him.
right.
As it probably would be, seeing me that smash, yo, I was just like totally incoherent. I think I had shit on my, excuse my language, but I had shit on myself or something,
Nah.
which was crazy. So I was just literally, well, no, I didn't fall into shit faced, but anyway, and so yeah, it was, but yeah, I don't recall anybody really, like you said, just kind of like, hey, young man,
Right. It's one thing to laugh at you. Then like, all right, listen, let's sit down. We're going to talk about this. Okay. We see what happened. You know what I mean? Next time, this is how we're going to act accordingly.
and I think it was cool the way that Dad handled it though, because he wasn't tripping on it and just kind of saw it as a lesson learned for me, because I know that that Sunday, looking at a beer commercial had me like queasy. You know what I mean? I was like,
That must mean we have no sense at all, because the old
Hangover.
school way is like, listen, he'll learn. If your ass was sick and vomiting, right? Still ain't learned.
But maybe that modeled what you did when your son was like that, and then you telling your wife to chill. You know what I mean? That was you was drawing on that same example.
Yeah, I think yes, that he has to kind of go through his thing and experience it, and come to either realize that what we say to be accurate and something he agreed with, or if he did it, or you say I need to teach him how to smoke weed, just did it that way in a smooth way to where he feels he can be responsible about it. So.
What about you, Joaquin? What was your parenting like around substances?
Oh my gosh, this
Oh.
dude was the Donald Trump of anyway.
What?
Because Trump never smoked, drank, or
And what's interesting about Joaquin is that he doesn't drink.
right? That's what I'm saying.
Never drank, never smoked,
Yeah.
never done nothing. So y'all been my friends. Y'all
People
been
don't
around
even
me.
believe it. I be like,
Yeah.
yeah, no, it's real.
They're like, not even a phase.
Yeah.
Not in college, not in high school, never nothing.
Right.
So
Wow.
And the interesting thing about that is that
That's our
it was-
designated driver.
yeah, right. That's the beauty of when
Till
you're
his
that
eyes
guy.
got bad.
years. Exactly.
What you say?
He said
Till his
till
eyes got bad. Might as well let one of us drink and drive.
Exactly. It's 5 drinks for us and him. Blind him. Which one?
Don't let it get too dark. Oh my god.
I ain't have my glasses, man. Y'all stop picking on me. But no, man, the interesting thing about that's the beauty of it. Like when you the person that don't drink, you get invited to everything. Everybody wants you to go because they know you'll drive. So that's always you was the main one. come out the house with his cup, his smoke, and get in my car. You asked me to go.
I'm trying to be responsible.
Yeah. I just know you gonna drive. So that's the beauty of it. You always get invited. But for me, the interesting thing is that was never some moral decision, religious decision, or anything. It was just something that I just didn't do. And then at a point, it became something I don't do. And so it was just a choice that I ended up making at a young age and just stuck with it. So for me, because I was on that, when it came to my son's experience, I was never the parent who was like, hey, I didn't smoke a drink. I ain't never puffed a joint in my life. I don't want you doing it. I don't want you to. I never said any of that to my sons. The only thing I ever said to them is, with that, you got to understand the stuff that come with it. I said, man, if you can go into a dispensary, and at the time, what none, but if you can go buy some weed from 7-Eleven, smoke until your heart's content. I don't care. The reason I tell you to stay away from it is the foolish ignorance that come with it. The people you have to deal with to get high. The people you got to deal with to buy some, to get some. The people that may try to rob you when you're buying some. All of that foolishness that come with it, that's what I want you to do. That's why I don't want you to do it. But if you put some parameters on what you're doing, I'm not tripping, you know? The other thing that was always a big thing for me is that as a Black father with Black sons that's going out into this world, we have seen time and time and time again when something happens and the police shoot your children, shoot your son or daughter or whatever happens, the first thing that happens in the public domain is that your character, that victim gets character assassinated by saying they had weed in their system, they were drunk or something like that, to that effect. And so for me, that was just a real fear that I always had. And so I'm like, listen, I can't have that happen to you. You know, I can't have something happen to you and then your character get destroyed in the public eye because you and so-and-so want to smoke one night. You know, so that was just a real fear for me that I carried. But outside of that, I wasn't tripping at all. You know, make sure you're safe. They always knew that they had the permission of mine to call me at any time and I would come get them.
Good.
Always, always, always. You got my number, and there's never any excuse for you to get in the car drunk, for you to get behind the wheel high, whatever. I know they did it. You know, I know they did it because sometimes it showed up at home like that, you know. But my thing was, hey, man, I just need you to be safe. It was always a safety issue for me. It was just a safety issue, and I ain't never pushed the morality or any of that stuff. You know, because and I think it was unreasonable to try to hold them to a standard that I had lived by for so many years. That was just not reasonable, you know. And I was not about to try to do that.
Right. What about you, Talik?
Oh man, so you know, my well, of course my son. But let me take it back for me, and you know, growing up and then having a couple drinks and stuff. I remember when I was real little, man, when my parents getting ready to go out or whatever, I get a little sip here and a little sip there and stuff like that. And but you know, never ever was a heavy drinker or anything. You know, you had your little spurts here and there, but for my son, for instance, you know, didn't allow any of that sneaking alcohol from us, or you know, none of that around the house. Not here, taste this. You taste this. None of that. I mean, of course, he's an adult now. You know, he can drink, but at the same time, he just ain't bringing drinks in the house, crushing them, and sitting on the couch like they ain't happening at our house.
He can't drink at home now, at the house.
Nah,
he's 22.
People so always want to tell us that.
I'm asking. So, like, is that a moral decision? Or are y'all treating him like he's 15 and he's 22? I mean, why can't he have a beer at the house? I'm just asking. Well, what's the principle behind that?
Well, everything don't have to have a principle, but at the same time,
tell me why you do.
I know. I'm just saying.
All right.
Like it's just a level. I mean, I'm not saying I never had a drink with my son, but when we did have a drink, it was his birthday.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as
his 21st birthday,
right? He not just coming in the house. Just
so if y'all watching the game at the house now,
right,
he can't have a beer,
right?
Why?
Hold on.
Chill.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I can't speak for you. I was thinking you don't mind if he have a drink here and there, but you don't want him sit down with a 6-pack and drink.
Well,
and
I'm
Nah.
talking. The question is about one beer,
Right.
watching the game
So-
at his house. That's the
Right.
question.
Right. So I'm not. I don't want him to think it's just comfortable for me and him to hang out and have drinks.
Because
Like,
as said
that's
in
not-
the
that's
earlier
not- that's-
episode,
Right. That's not.
You're
What
not my
about if he
friend.
having one on his own?
I
Is
am
that
not
the
his
same?
friend.
Yeah, you're not drinking.
No, I'm just
You
saying
drinking.
he can have a drink. I'm not saying he can't have a drink, but I'm saying at our house.
So that's back to the episode
So,
on.
If he
Remember we were talking about choosing friends,
Right? Yeah.
And Talik said, "My son is not my friend."
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't want
That's
him
what I
to get
just
that
said.
twisted.
Though,
That's sort of the same.
correct.
He's being consistent though.
So,
Right.
but let me ask you this, and I'm gonna ask you, why would that be a violation if let me just say this, if he has demonstrated the maturity
And he has.
that he knows how to handle it and he's not gonna abuse it, why would it be in any way a violation for him to have a beer while y'all watching the football game?
I'm not gonna say a violation, but I mean, if that's a word you want to
choose
use,
the word.
No, I'm just saying, like, why can't you just say no? This ain't going on. Now you
No,
have your,
I figure it's a
why,
reason.
But why you always gotta have a reason? Just like this is what I feel comfortable with.
Everything has a reason.
Right.
Okay,
So
Just
but I'm
your
like
just saying-
reason is you don't feel comfortable
I don't.
with your son drinking in your house.
Look, I'm not painting that picture there. Back again, like you say, friends, right? I'm not giving. I mean, yes, he's an adult and he can have a drink, but I'm just saying for me. That's all I'm saying. Like, I don't mind if he drink, but don't be drinking and driving. We not playing none of that, and I don't want him to smoke, or do any other drugs. And I'm always constantly reminding him that you don't need these things to enhance your ability, right? So he's a journalist, and he get up early in the morning, work late hours and stuff. And what I understand is sometimes in that type of industry, you cling on to things, right? Because this gets you through this gets you through that. And we already seen numerous examples of what happened when you in certain circles and you got the respect for these journalists and stuff, or whoever your stars or fan. But then when you get in that environment, this is what I do to keep me motivated. And I'm always constantly reminding him is get your proper rest, get your, and these things you've been doing since the beginning and motivating yourself, then you don't need no enhancement to motivate you. And so I don't want to give him I don't want him to think that maybe later on I have to clean to these because I need to tap into my oh yeah, I smoke weed or whatever to get into my creativity. Like, that's bull.
So what I'm hearing is Talik saying, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, of course. I don't want him to be comfortable drinking at home because overall, I don't want him to be a regular drinker every day at home, period.
Right.
So my environment, I don't want my environment to be that place where such a thing can launch.
Right.
That's what I'm hearing.
I'm not promoting.
Could it also be that's the kind of culture you grew up in? You did you know what I'm saying? Or did you ever grow up in that type of culture where
Did you
it was
drink,
it was okay that it was
mean,
okay if you wanted to, if you brought a six pack over to the house of it and you're visiting your mom or grandmom or whatever, and they said it was cool, or
I mean, we wasn't.
they didn't have it like that, or what?
I mean, in our family, I mean, they it was some drinkers, but it wasn't no hardcore issues,
Yeah.
That.
I don't think it was drinkers. I would just say it was.
I was about to say, yeah.
it was
no, but-
people would have a drink, but there won't no drinkers.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
We
That's
agree.
interesting though.
But-
Like, go ahead, bro.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not. One thing I understood was, and this I had to learn this, but I remember when, and I ain't gonna go into the whole story, but I remember when my mom found out that I was having sex, right? And she was like, make sure you go and get contraceptives and you can go here, right? And I remember that, and a light bulb went off in my head, and it said, "Shoot, Mom, know how I'm doing it. It's on." And it was almost like an endorsement.
So you saw that as a cosign.
And I'm not co-signing. You know, you're gonna do things on your own, but I'm not here to co-sign.
Do you drink at home?
Yeah, but I don't really drink much. But I do. Yeah, I drink. You know. But yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, man, my experience is interesting. I had 3 older brothers, as y'all know. And so with my oldest brother being 7 years older than me, when we was in middle school, like 6th grade, he was like a senior in high school, right? So they would have house parties whenever my mom went out of town. Of course, they watching me the weekend. So we was getting, I give you $2 if you don't tell, blah, blah, blah. Right? I give you a beer if you don't tell. So I got started. As great as my brothers are role models to me, but they did. That's the one thing I always blame them for. Because some stuff I just got exposed to too early. You know what I'm saying? But then when y'all remember my Uncle Bo, right?
Oh yeah.
So so I used to wonder why when he lived up the street, they used to always go over there. I was like, why are they going over there seeing Uncle George? He all old and you know. Then I was about 14, right? And my mom sent me up there to do something for him, right? And he said, hey, pour me a drink of that bourbon over there, right? And I was like, I don't know how to do it. You don't know how to pour no bourbon? Great uncle. This is a great uncle.
Right.
And so he taught me how to make him a drink. And then he said, well, make yourself one. I got me a drink. I was adventurous back then. I got me a drink. I started feeling a little good. I said, this is why they've been coming over Uncle Bo. You know what I'm saying?
Come to see a 75-year-old man.
They were spending the night with him and all that. You know? And then, of course, in high school, man, you know, we experimented a lot with drugs. For me, weed and alcohol. You know what I'm saying? The good thing was when I was playing a sport, I wasn't messing around. But outside of that, it was every weekend. You know what I mean? We was trying to get lit every weekend. Drunk driving, drunk riding.
Oh, my God.
And even to today, man, I just thank God we're not dead. For real.
Sure. Or didn't kill nobody.
The dangerous stuff we were doing and smoking and, you know, everybody know who the smokers are. And that's one thing I want to say to parents. My advice is stop thinking your child don't have access because you don't know how they will get access. Right. They have access.
Right.
To whatever they want. There's somebody they know that can get them and experiment with everything. Right. And that's just, don't be naive like that. And then so as a parent, man, and look, this is the story I want to say about your house. I was sitting there thinking about it because my kids would drink at home occasionally now, but like me, they're not regular drinkers, period. Mm-hmm. So like I'm not a regular drinker at home, right? Like I'm not somebody that can sit at home and just sip and be enjoyed. Because if I start sipping, I'm ready to go out. I can't just sit there and just be chill. I'm ready to go. Let's go, right? So I don't socially drink at home. I socially drink when I'm out. And that when I do go drink, they ask me, you know, they go to the doctor and say, do you drink? I was like, would you describe it as 1 a day, 2 a day? Are you social? I was like, I'm social. But then when I do go out, I'm social in terms of the frequency of when I drink. But when I do drink, it's not social. You know what I'm saying? It's beyond social. But anyway, my mom, man, you know, we talked about how we had parents that were young, teenage parents. My mom, man, she used to drink beer, I remember, right? And she used to leave it in the refrigerator, man. So me and my brothers, and I was the youngest, though, we started sipping that joint. Just it might be because we ain't had no Kool-Aid. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? So, but when she was 26, she stopped drinking, period. And I think one time I might have asked her, she watches the podcast, I'm going to confirm it, but I think she might have even knew my older brother was tried, and she was like, you know what? I'm not doing that because my grandfather had a serious, like he died from cirrhosis.
Okay.
Of the liver. And in my family, my extended family, alcohol was a big thing. You know, like people can drink. We can put it down, right? Yeah. And so she stopped and started going to church and all of that. And still to this day, she doesn't drink and has never drank since. And so I didn't grow up in a house where it's acceptable. And I pointed that out because even now, we don't bring drinks to my mom's house. The only time we started bringing drinks there was when we started having the cookouts at our house and we started bringing drinks. But even now, we won't just go in there with a 6 and it's a game on and drink because, I don't know, it might be just out of respect for the fact she don't drink. So I kind of understand the other side of what Talik's talking about because I don't even feel comfortable just walking up in there with a bottle and mixing me a drink sitting there talking to my mom. You know what I'm saying? So, but she wouldn't say anything, but I still just don't feel, somehow I feel like I'm not being respectful. You know what I mean?
And it sounds like that's almost like an unwritten
That's
code,
what I'm saying.
unwritten thing that Chill has with Reek.
He's just looking
you know
at it from her end. Like, that's probably not something she would be comfortable with. And she just never said anything, but it's just odd. But the other thing I want to point out, like with my sons, man, I used to always ask them questions, man. Do you drink? Because somebody that used to get high, I can tell when somebody's high. So if they got a little friend around them that's high, I'd be like, he smoked. Right? They'd be like, how you know he smoked? They know he smoked. How do you know?
Yeah.
Because I used to smoke.
Yeah.
I mean, you understand what I'm saying?
Right.
He's high, right? And so then I can have a conversation with them like, listen, do you smoke? And I always felt they was honest with me. Because, you can tell when somebody's lying anyway, right?
Yeah.
If you know your children well enough. And they would be like, nah, even to the point where me had a close friend of his, and still a close friend of his today that was a plug in high school.
Mm-hmm.
He used to sell, right? But Amir never imbibed, but I think that's also because I had a family member that had a tragedy, started having some mental experience, health issues, and people was like, he used to smoke a lot. And my wife, who never smoked, never experimented, the one time she tried it, she had an asthma attack, went to the hospital. She was in high school, so she never even tried again, right? And juxtaposed to me, that was looking for it every weekend. You know what I'm saying? So, but she probably scared him. Yep, I heard about that. You can have mental health issues. And they were young enough that it probably scared the heck out of them, right? And so, and then I would just talk about, man, listen, this is what smoking can do. It's not good. I never condoned the fact that I used to do it. But the funny thing about alcohol was, and I never really knew much about alcohol, they used to always tell me, nah. And the other thing was they played so much sports. That's limited time, sometimes when you deal with that sports thing. Mm-hmm. But they would always see at my house, I had the big cookouts. Mm-hmm. They would see me and my brothers drinking. You know what I always say? Hey, you see us drinking, but notice how we carry ourselves. Right. Do you see anybody out here arguing and fighting? So if you ever do drink, just keep that in mind, man. I used to tell them, just look at how
that's a great point.
We're just having fun. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so, but the one time I went to Amir's, the first time I went when he moved off campus in college, I went to his house. It was parent weekend. I know it was a freshman year, parent weekend. And they tried to clean up as best they could. And his roommates, right? They missed one bag. It happened to be the liquor bottle bag. So I was down there. Look, man, you go down the house, man. Y'all need to clean up a little bit. You and your wife moving around. I go, where the trash bags at? I don't think we got none. You ain't got none under this cabinet. Okay. Here go the trash bag full of liquor bottles. You understand what I'm saying? And so, and then I was like, my joke was like, hey, y'all drinking pretty good to be broke.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like,
we
was on Naughty Head Gin and Bowman's Vodka,
Boone's Farm
wine, and all this, right? But anyway.
Shout out to John Berlin for Boone's Farm.
I use the opportunity to say, yo, if you drink, this is how you drink responsibly, man. Get you a couple, get you some water. Don't ever drive. So I don't see that condoning. I was teaching them survival skills about my knowledge of drinking. Right. You know what I'm saying? And all of them I used to always remind them of that. Like with my youngest, with Haki, I'm like, yo, man, I know what kind of temper he has, right? I was like, yo, you a 2 and done.
Yeah.
Because the first time I saw him drinking, I saw his energy. And he get that liquid courage. He already had too much courage before. I was like, you a 2 and you need to chill. So I was almost like coaching you how to handle it, because you got to know, that's the other thing, you got to know your chemistry. You got to know your heredity. I was like, yo, you got people in your family that can get it in, and you 2, and you need to manage yourself, because you'll take it there with somebody if they cross you, and I know you don't bother nobody. And so, I had those type of conversations, and to this day, they responsible drinkers. You know what I'm saying? Now, to that point, they don't socially drink at home, but it's there. I don't care. Like I have a big party. Y'all bought me all that liquor.
Oh.
Sometimes they be going out. They be like, "Can I take that? Take the bottle, man. Yeah, go ahead." You know what I'm saying? But do not drive. I was driving that home because we should be dead for real.
Right.
With how much
All
drinking
the-
and driving.
Gee,
But other
right.
than that, man, and the weed thing, they were never really interested. But I know they got friends that smoke, and I would talk about that when the men went to college. I said, "Listen, you gonna about to go down there and see people that do coke and smoke weed. I know how it go. We know the game. You had a PWI. Weed is not the white student's choice of drugs. It's the coke. It's the powder." And I was like, "Yo, don't never get in that powder thing. That powder thing is when violence comes. That powder thing is this. That powder thing is that. But with the weed, don't never let nobody get in your car with no weed. You gonna get the charge." I was on that type of tip.
Right.
But if it's gonna happen, let me tell you how to be street smart.
Trying
About
to
this
give
and that.
them some parameters around their usage.
You can't stop it.
Right,
That's the
exactly.
Yeah.
So here's some parameters that you want to use.
Because you can't stop somebody that want to try something.
Right,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
right.
know
But you
what
know
I'm
what?
saying?
But you know what? To
That was
that
my
point,
attitude too.
to that point, I remember my Uncle Ed told me years ago. He said, "Nephew, you can never get hooked on something you don't try."
Dang.
And that was just a real message I always remember. So I don't tell nobody, don't do this, don't do that. But here's what I will say.
Right.
My son has a medical transportation company, non-emergency medical transportation. And 80% of the passengers are going to the methadone
But
clinic.
shout out to Swift Lifts.
Yes, shout out to
Swift
Swift.
Transportation.
Yeah, but 80% of those passengers are going to the methadone clinic.
Yeah.
And I can assure you, none of those people ever grew up as a young person saying, "I want to be going to the methadone clinic one day."
Right.
All right. There's a series of events that take place that end up leading
So it
to
starts
that.
somewhere.
Yeah,
Yep.
that end up leading to that. And so, as the person amongst this group who never smoked, never drank, my message to anybody, to young people, and this is what I would say to parents, to tell your children, you can hang with whoever you want to hang with, but you do not have to do what they do.
Mm-hmm.
You just don't.
You're a great example of that.
Yeah, you can hang with whoever you want to hang with. They can have all the smoke and all the drink they want, but you don't have to do that.
Yeah.
And I felt like that was always giving them some power, to take the power back and to never feel like they were under any type of peer pressure whatsoever. It's people now today that will be like, "Yeah, man, we got high together," talking to me. "Yeah, we used to smoke together and drink together," talking to me. But you know why? Because I was with everybody.
was
that was
everywhere,
smoking.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm with everybody that's smoking and
Yeah.
drinking.
Yeah.
And all I got is a Grady Wilson. That's what
Yeah, he did pull a Grady Wilson.
that's for folks who don't know. We call it a Grady Wilson amongst us because that was always my fake non-alcoholic drink that I would have.
Well, no,
It
you
won't
gotta
number-
tell them that Grady on Sanford
Oh,
and Son
yeah,
was
yeah.
faking drinking.
Yeah, it's an episode of Sanford and
Yeah,
Son where
yeah.
Grady is pouring the
Aficionado.
alcohol in a gas can, but he not really drinking. And so I called my drink a Grady Wilson because it won't number orange juice and pineapple juice.
Yeah.
And people would think it was a drink.
A mixed
Yeah.
drink.
Yeah, it was a mixed drink, but it ain't nothing but orange juice.
Yeah.
I'm
And
hi-
then
I'm
another-
highly annoyed by just like, I live in the big city, man, and I'm always thinking somebody on drugs, right? Just because like how people interact. They flying, they basically almost basically reckless driving, and you see this so much. Soon as they pass you, all of a sudden it smell like I'm smoking weed in my car,
Bro.
and it is so annoying. You going to, one thing about it is I was talking to this gentleman that worked for the Hawks, and he he film and take pictures and all that stuff. But what happened was, I remember him telling me, he was like, we was somewhere. He said, "Do I smell like weed?" Because somebody drove by and the smell, he felt like the smell was on him because he could smell it. So he literally said he had to go back home and change his clothes to go to the, because if you go in there and you smell like weed, that's it. They getting rid of you, and
Dang.
so that's one thing, you can't be,
But bro,
if he was
to
running
that
late and
point, though,
stuff.
when we came to see you in Atlanta, though, they were smoking weed at the restaurants, just outside.
Man,
Police out there, everything.
it
was
is-
like
It's
you could
terrible.
just smoke
Yeah.
publicly. It was crazy.
And they ain't passed the law, you know.
Yeah, right. That was
So-
they created their own law.
Yeah.
That
And
was
so
5, 6 years
it's
ago.
just so you know. I mean, I ain't knocking what people do, but at the same time, I'm just saying how annoying it is.
Let me say this when we're gonna talk about young people, though, right? I got a story, and I'm gonna disclose. So, I was interested in CBD because of 2 knee injuries I've had, right? And you know, getting pain medicine like Percocets and all that, we know the problem with that. And let me just say to this, y'all: if you think the Percocet and pain medicine is the same as it was 10, 20 years ago, you trip. I believe them companies need to be sued because I had a procedure. It's 10 times stronger than it used to be. The pills. And I'm getting to a point. So I went and Maryland got a medical marijuana law. I said, I'm gonna go get me a car because I want to try CBD. This is when it first started coming out. Popular about what, 6, 7 years ago? Let me tell you the process. So, and in Virginia, now it's just straight recreational legal, right? So, but they started with that medical stuff. You go see this doctor, right? And he's a physician, real physician.
Mhm.
And you say, hey, I'm applying for a medical card. He said, okay, what's wrong with you? I said, I had 2 knee surgeries. You know what I'm saying? I have no meniscus over here. I'm in a lot of pain, little arthritic pain. He said, okay, no problem. He wrote me a prescription. You could get up to 4 ounces of weed a month. Right?
Oh, wow.
4 ounces. Now, for those of us that used to smoke,
Yeah.
you know 4 ounces is way too much weed for one person to smoke in a month. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Oh wow.
Do you understand what I'm saying? Right? 4 ounces a month, right? And so, and that includes CBD products, all of that, right? So, the first time I go to the dispensary to get my little CBD tincture or whatever, which is great for pain to be, I mean, it does work, right? And but not like anything else though. If you use CBD, you can test positive. And I don't have a position where now I got some stuff going on where you can't test positive. Back then I didn't, but I was just like, I don't want to be positive for nothing. You know what I'm saying? So I just wanted to try the CBD. But anyway, when I went to the dispensary, you see old people and young people. Not a whole bunch of people in the middle. So you got 21-year-olds that can go say, my knee hurt. Let me get a card. They're getting 4 ounces a month. This is my problem with drugs with young people and weed. Science says the brain does not stop developing until 25 years old.
Correct.
Right? That's science. Marijuana impacts brain development, according to science, right? So I've always been on the side that if they legalizing this like that, look at what it's doing to the development of our young people.
And it's doing
so
a
I
number.
feel that the legalization and all of that, and to some degree, is weaponization.
Come on now.
Right.
It's another way to trap our young people into a world, because anybody that knows that smokes a lot, you all know if you smoke a lot back in the day, it kills your ambition.
Yep,
It can impact
non-productive.
your ambition, make you lazy, make you a slacker,
Damn, that
make
explains
you
it.
overeat, all of that stuff, right? And so to me, for the proliferation of it between people 18 and 25, it's setting our people back. And the amount they're smoking is killing ambition, it's killing brain development to the point we don't even know a lot about it yet. And so I feel it's weaponized, and I feel it's a big problem because of that, because the smoking culture now, bro, it's out the roof with our young people. And so I have big concerns about that. So that's one thing I did tell my sons. I was like, it's being weaponized.
And
You know what I'm saying? Let me just say this other thing.
Okay.
The other thing is, parents, we have got to understand, and this is something we don't know a lot about. This pill game is serious business with Percocets and Mollies and all of that stuff. Do you realize that I asked my sons what people paying for that stuff? They paying $20 for one Percocet, man. And people out there taking Percocet and drinking liquor with it. And you got a lot of these so-called shooters in the hood. They numb. They pulling triggers. They perked up. They out there on these pills, man, and lean and all of that stuff. That pill culture scares me more than the weed culture, because now people are mixing in fentanyl, and you think you buying a Percocet and it's fentanyl. And I would say this, man, in school districts all over America, you got high schools where it's 5 and I've heard this from principals. It's 5 kids they finding in the bathroom every week overdosed on these pills.
Okay.
And I'm not saying they dying, but they overdosed on
Yeah,
these heroin.
yeah.
It's heroin, man.
Yeah.
And we was always scared. Like, we tried weed and all that. These pills, it's heroin. Do you understand what I'm saying? And so that pill thing, we got so many adults addicted to pills going to the meth clinic. And there's so many young people that's popping pills. And it used to be that black folk, we ain't mess with no pills. We'll smoke your joint and all that. We were not taking pills. We always saw that as white folk stuff. That's the way we always proceeded. But now that pill game has proliferated every community in America. And it's scary because everybody popping pills now. So you got to talk to your kids about this prescription stuff, man, and using these pills. Because again, the Percocet that I had when I had knee surgery in 2004 is different than the Percocet that I had when I had a procedure in 2020. I'm just telling you, I was like, even when Jeremiah had ACL surgery, I was like, man, I was on the thing because I don't want no pain when I have a surgery. I was like, man, you better keep taking these pills.
Yeah.
He said, Dad, I don't want no more. I said, why? He said, I was flying last night. I was told that the strength of them is crazy now. So it's scary out there. So you got to get into your kids and find out what their attitudes are about this stuff, because whether you believe it or not, some of their friends doing it. And I'm not saying just people that they think is cool. Some of their friends doing it.
And I was about to say, other than the news or what may, you know what I'm saying, be come to appear to be an epidemic in certain neighborhoods or certain communities and whatnot, how would we know? And that's the beauty of our brotherhood, and that's what I have appreciated about it. Whereas we can come to one another or run that by each other. Because other than that, I would, you know what I'm saying, we still talking about crack. And it's like, oh, what's the drug? What's the drug now that, you know what I'm saying?
Ain't no more crack
And
dealers
it's
on the corner.
Right.
Nah.
Or meth and all this. And it's like, dang, I didn't even know what its effects were and all of that, because it's just like, you know, it can be mad oblivious. So
Man, my son.
how can we help parents understand what's the latest drug or whatever?
You gotta look that up. But it's the pill game right now, and the weed. You know what I'm saying? Even though weed is legalized, you still got people buying. You know, the street price is probably cheaper than those dispensaries. You know what I'm saying? But like my sons, you know, I asked my son kid doing, and my son's open with me. They ain't snitching on, but I just like, we just stay open. They men.
Right.
They be like, man, my man, he's selling, like, they selling shit on Instagram, bro. Like, you can get it on social media. Like, we had a social media conversation with your little kids, bro. They are openly selling on social media, man. You know what I'm saying? On IG and all of that stuff. It ain't no more like we had to call somebody 18 times. And like, I ain't gonna have it this week. I'm gonna get some 2 weeks from now. No, It's on IG. It's everywhere. Every tool they use, it's available on them joints.
And that's where they got to be careful too, because of all of that.
I know in Atlanta they got a college, man, and everybody, like, well, not everybody. I hate to say that word, but they got a bad heroin problem on campus.
Oh, really?
Young
Yes.
folks.
Yeah, I'm talking about real bad, and I'm like, what? And this college is well known and well respected, you know, and I'm like, I was floored because I just couldn't believe it, you know.
Well, my thing is, you know, it's just something else to spend money on. I ain't wasting my money on none of that. You know, I ain't wasting my money on no drinks. I ain't wasting my money on no weed. I ain't wasting my money on none of that stuff. So it's just something else to spend money on. That's how I see it.
I ain't creating them
habits.
habits.
Let me bring this dynamic into it, though. We had an issue on coping.
Yeah.
Man, people not out here just smoking just to smoke.
Right.
People
mental
coping,
health.
man.
Yeah.
The inordinate stress and how you teach your children how to deal with stress, it's easy to go reach for something. You know what I'm saying? So if they're not balanced, then they out there coping. They taking that crutch, man. And so when you say, like, hey, man, don't waste your money on that, they're like, this is the only thing making me feel like I can make it. They're making me feel normal. You know what I'm saying? And so we gotta address that. If you want your children to stay away from it, then teach them coping mechanisms and make sure they balance enough in their life where they don't need that crutch that we know is a temporary crutch. And then once they get on it, you know, it's just a done deal. You know what I'm saying? Until
Absolutely.
they realize I don't need that anymore and they grow, have some type of spiritual awakening. But people out here coping, man. It's hard out here for young people with everything thrown at them now. You know what I'm saying? And all of the imagery, and you got to meet this standard and that. But
Once
a lot
again,
of them,
everything we talking about is a complex issue.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
not a singular thing.
Right, right.
But
It's not just about the entertainment value of
Exactly.
smoking. Is I need
Exactly.
to escape.
Exactly.
You know, one thing about that in our generation we used to hear all the time was when you smoke weed, I got the munchies. I don't hear nobody say that no more. You know, and everybody, you know, well, not everybody, but there's so many people smoking weed, but it, like you
Everybody.
said,
It ain't even the
it make
munchies
them,
no
it
more.
make them lazy.
Yeah.
You know, it like, you know, it make them lazy versus motivate or, you know, or tap into their creativity. I mean, of course it affect, you know, different people different ways, but you don't even hear that no more.
Well, I can't speak on it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
that's when I
man,
just
listen.
know
I
my
think
lane.
back when we was growing up, it might have been, I would say, let's say if you say, and I'm just thinking about our crew, not just this crew, but our larger
Yeah.
crew.
Mm-hmm.
If you think about it, man, probably half of us smoke, half might not smoke. You get a crew of 10, 20 people now, yeah, come on, man, 7 out of 10.
Yeah. One,
you know
maybe
what I'm
two.
saying? Yeah,
One or
yeah,
two.
yeah.
One or two.
It's you know, it's amazing, man, and it's just like you said, it's so accessible. They got more money. They got, you know what I'm saying, and it's the order of the day, female and male. You know what I'm saying, and so it's a huge problem that we gotta. To me, it's all about the balance.
Did
Again,
any of our kids deal with that when they were in high school? Like, you know, was it a real problem in high school, in the schools, or everybody know what's going on, but it never blew up into a big problem?
You mean with,
You
I think
talking about drugs?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have no clue.
my kids went to a large enough school where they knew a lot of people that was burned out that they used to ball with, or
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying. Even now, man, dudes they was cool with on that pill game, you know, females that drink lean and they on Instagram showing their cup of lean. You know, it's scary out there, man. What's accessible to our young people today, and then not to really that it almost make alcohol seem like go drink,
Right,
Yeah.
right.
drink
And
all you want.
the peer pressure as well, you know.
Yeah.
Just, you know, the having peer pressure and stuff. I remember when we was younger, man, everybody was like, yo, you want to smoke? I'm like, no. You know what I mean? I just learned how to get my voice early, you know.
But you know the difference too is that we would like if I was gonna be somewhere and I saw your mom and I was high when we was in high school, I'm dipping.
Yeah,
Right.
right.
You know what I'm saying? Now
No shame.
they don't care.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, my brother, man, you know, I'm gonna be careful. One of my brothers, because this was recent, but he had, you know, his son had some teammates at the crib, you know, from the team and from the pickleball team. But one of the young men, he cooking out for the fellas and all of that, this high school stuff. Come downstairs, you smell that? He blazing outside my brother's crib, just comfortable.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
He just blazing.
Now, when you say
And his son
cooking,
came up and said, like, Dad, I ain't had nothing to do with it. I ain't know.
No, brother,
He was like, what are you
Oh, yeah,
talking
yeah.
about?
Right.
He was like, man, he blazed up and my brother was able to talk. He like, just think about the boldness. Like, they don't even care if it's an adult that know no more. Like, they don't care if they outside, in front of public place. It don't even matter. That's how comfortable people are. In our day, we wouldn't have never did that. You wouldn't have caught me out even cussing around your mom.
Right,
Like,
right,
man, it's just like, they don't care if
right?
any adults are around. It just don't even matter.
I'm
Yeah,
grown.
it's
I'm
normalized,
this.
yeah.
Yeah.
No respect, you know. That's just
It's a whole nother ball game.
I'm
So
done.
if we wrap it up, man, what's our three or four quick advice we can give to parents? One is had a conversation for sure, right? What else?
For me, it's two things. One, You don't have to do what other people do. And you can never get hooked on something you never try.
Okay.
That's my message. You can
Gotcha.
never get hooked on something you never try, and you do not have to do what other people do just because you're hanging with them.
Right.
You know, you can hang with whoever you want to, but you don't have to do what they do.
Right.
That's my message to young people. And then they choose to do with it what they want, you know.
And then at that point, you're trying to be a coach.
I'm just a consultant.
You got to go back to your street knowledge and be like, look, this how that drug game go.
Right.
You know
right,
what I'm
right.
saying?
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're making yourself vulnerable in some areas, and you need to be aware of this.
Any final thoughts on that, James and Talik?
Just to the parents, try to be the best example you can
There
be
you go.
to your children of what you don't want them to be influenced by.
Yeah.
And it starts there, really. And being that example and not appearing hypocritical is
You better not be out there
goes a long
smoking.
way. Yeah.
Your blunt papers is up in the
Right. And so be consistent, and again, allow your behavior and model the values that you're trying to instill in them.
Yeah.
Then to piggyback on that, to make it real simple and crystal clear, kids repeat what they hear and imitate what they see.
Mm-hmm.
And you need to know that.
Right.
They repeat what they hear and they imitate what they see. So, don't, all of a sudden you shocked and appalled that they doing something.
And back to the
Came from
language thing
somewhere.
again and what you being careful what you say around your kid. I done had a stress day, man. I need to get me a drink when I get home.
It sends the message.
You telling them when you get stressed out, go get a drink.
Absolutely.
Right? You know what I'm saying? And that's true. So that's the thing too, is pay attention to letting them know that there's no answer in that with coping. So don't think coping. If you got problems, you ain't gonna solve them that way.
You need to go to church. You need to go exercise.
Yeah.
You need to go do something
Right.
to cope. Go to the therapist, counselor, whatever you need to do. But substance, emotional and mind altering substance is never gonna be a long term answer, a real answer for what you cope with.
It's a temporary high.
Yeah, it's temporary fix.
Mine is, hey, going against the grain is okay at times, just because everybody else doing something don't mean you have to do it, you know. So that's my message.
My number one thing is safety, right? I want you to come home. I want you to be healthy, right? And so we talk about how the strength of regular weed is now compared to back then. And we talk about the fentanyl, people, lacing stuff up. So number one, come home healthy. Don't be drinking and driving. You know what I mean? Know what you're doing, know what you're taking if you decide to do something like that. So that's the number one thing. And obviously keep the line of communication. Like you said, I'm just reiterating what you said. Why? Why am I taking this drink? Why am I smoking? Know your why and be honest with yourself, right? And if, like you said, if you catch yourself, I'm stressed out. Boom, all right, man, I know I can't handle this stress. This particular way, I got to handle it in a different way. And that's my number one takeaway.
And the last thing for me is, number one, the famous quote, moderation in all things.
Yeah.
I don't care good or bad, moderation in all things. And also, everything that feels good ain't good for you. You know what I'm saying? So everything that feels good ain't good for you. It's the B2M Crew, chopping it up about drugs and alcohol in this episode, broadcasting from the Code Building. Again, follow us. Boy, we've grown together from boys into men, and we just sharing with y'all our insights and then what we've learned, read, and experienced. And catch us on YouTube at our page, all our social media channels. And my man Joaquin gonna take us out with something.
As always, in the words of the great Frederick Douglass, it is easier to raise strong children than to repair broken men. Peace.
Like that.
And I won't stop until I'm winning. I'ma show them how true and independent get it. Whole game changed by the time I'm finished with it. We about to get this business handled in a minute. And I won't stop until I'm winning. They don't want me in the office cause I